All right, any need for executive?
I do have just a follow-up on that personnel issue of last time, the rec department.
I've got a personnel issue would be with listers, assessors, just something somebody brought up to me.
Make a motion, we go into executive session for those two items.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any need to amend the agenda?
There's one change. We can probably table the posting of town roads under new business. We simply don't have the information yet.
Oh, okay.
Make a motion, we accept the agenda as amended.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right. Anything on the minutes? No.
We have regular minutes and liquor board minutes.
All right.
But you also have a liquor board agenda, so that would go under liquor board.
Okay, fair enough.
And Joe, your signature's on the second page or the last page this time.
So it has to be done separately?
Yeah, it's two different meetings.
Huh, okay.
We have a liquor board agenda, so we just include it there.
Under liquor board, that could be a second item, approve liquor board minutes.
All right, just do that later. Okay, thanks.
I've got an idea to throw out while we're all just signing papers. What if, because we all seem to get confused as these things go back and forth. What if John had that, handed it to Joe, and they came around that way? Because I don't know how many times we've had people miss signing and whatever.
Yeah,
I think it would make it a lot more efficient.
I can hold those signature items and you can
Yeah.
nod your head when it's time.
Time to pass it.
back all
and
here right
then
now.
It's a very good idea.
I think
Yeah.
simple is sometimes better.
Thanks.
All right, hey. Don't let them worry about it, Joel. It's not our problem.
Oh, my gosh. Okay. All right, anything on the orders?
All right, on the top of the list, it says police ammo, $5,266. Are they buy that many bullets?
They do, but some of it is for personal use. And I have an email from our accountant saying that, yes, in fact, they bought their normal allotment. And they also asked, since some of their private shooting is in furtherance of their police work, can they buy their own extra ammo through the purchase order? And I authorized it, and they paid back already their personal use ammo.
Oh, okay.
It just struck me as quite a bit of money.
No, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, I thought it was higher than usual, but I questioned it all.
Yeah,
No, it's
So
usually in
the
the
price of
hundreds,
ammo.
isn't it?
Well, it's in the thousands, but not 5,000.
Yeah.
You know, maybe you could check and see what it was last year for.
yeah.
I think because Mike had called me to ask me my opinion on it too, and I think there's around $3,600 and some odd dollars no, that was personal ammo, so
Okay, so that's,
Yeah.
a lot less.
a lot
So
less.
it's 1,700 or so, give or take, if you do.
Yeah,
that.
which I think is,
I did have that question.
yeah.
And then also that postage, the postage mail for the election ballots, that'll be reimbursed, right? At least
Well,
partially?
The state's talking about grant for elections during the COVID. I don't know that that's been approved yet. I certainly know we haven't received the money yet, but they're definitely going to keep track of that number and submit it if they get a chance.
Okay.
No question.
And the salt shed engineering cost, is that like a monthly oversight number or is that a holdover from something
No,
else?
there's a monthly charge from GPI which is our resident engineers. They're the ones who watch the contractor and subcontractor do their work, make sure it's being done.
So that is just a monthly fee. We'll keep seeing
It
that.
is, but shouldn't be seeing it for more than another month or two at the
Okay.
most.
I know it's a lot.
Fingers crossed.
People watching the people that watch the people.
I know.
Oh, yeah. We wouldn't want anybody to not watch somebody.
Wonder why construction costs are so high.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Were there other questions? I can send around the orders if you'd like.
All I had.
That's all I had.
Okay. I'm going to give you 3 orders. You sign each of them.
Sorry, I think I snuck the liquor board too in behind something,
Okay.
so. Not that pile.
I think you're all right.
They're all gonna get signed anyway.
Well, I know.
Sooner or later, at
Sooner or later.
Yeah. I know.
the end of the year, if we don't have them all, they'll catch us.
That's right.
I'm going to hand you payroll, Joe. We can get that started also. Thank you. Looks like Chad Hewitt out there in Zoom land.
Oh, yeah, I recognize that bald head anywhere.
Ain't that
I would have
nice?
expected that from the police chief, not you.
Hey, I gotta get back at you somehow.
Should I turn off my light? Is my head like that bright?
A little bit.
We're getting sunglasses.
I think
I've been over to.
Sorry. Jeez.
Just when you thought you were done.
Yeah.
Just don't sit up
Should
there.
have been a bartender.
There's no opening, but little thing.
Put you in the cocktail movie.
There was a barber you used to have to sit it, but no more.
This is mine until 3 years ago.
Yeah.
All right, town managers report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The contractor's subcontractor has been erecting the steel roof structure on the salt shed over the past 2 weeks. It looks as though they will be finishing in early March. Today, it appeared that they were beginning to try to put the fabric on top of the steel roof structure. In fact, V-Trans will be doing a site visit tomorrow morning briefly to check out how the progress is coming. Casella expects to complete work on the replacement of the 2 pump stations, except for site restoration and seeding and mulching soon. In fact, today, I heard from Casella that they already have both pump stations in operation, and they're going to provide a startup training for our water and sewer department on Friday, February 26th, before they shut down and then come back in the spring to clean things up. Middlebury Fence took down the old fence at the rec area and installed a replacement fence on Thursday and Friday of last week, finishing off for the most part Monday of this week. There are some small punch list items left, but in general, project looks good. I mentioned at the last meeting that the town of Chittenden has scheduled a public hearing on February 22nd at 7 regarding some adjustments, minor adjustments to the locations of Bisbee and Lead Mine roads up in Chittenden. That is not the approach the town uses to get to its water source. Ours approach is on the other side of the ridge. So while we don't have a particular dog in this matter, in the fight, I will attend that meeting virtually just to be sure that there's nothing that affects the town or our access to our water source. In tonight's packet, you'll find an enthusiastic email from the Pittsford Tractor Parade organizer, Jeff Carlton. He's first of all thrilled that his event made the cover of the town report, and he's full of ideas on how to make our next event bigger and better for everyone. So stay tuned. We might be inviting him for a discussion down the road. Finally, budget discussion and voting. As we're trying to notify the public in various formats, due to COVID-19, the state's government has authorized towns to handle by Australian ballot for this year only all warned articles. That's town budgets as well as elections, with a requirement that the town hold an informational hearing beforehand. So on Monday, March 1st at 6:30, there will be an informational meeting accessible only via Zoom video and dial-in options. Then voters, all of whom will have received mailed ballots, can either return them to the town offices or bring them to the polling station, which will be the firehouse, on Tuesday, March 2nd from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Please look for postings and or the town report and or the town website for more information. In tonight's packet is a postcard that has recently been sent out to all registered voters explaining all this. And in addition, ballots, I believe, are going to be mailed out Thursday and or Friday. Helen, is that right?
That's right.
Okay. And that's all I have.
Right.
John, back on the,
Doing this informational meeting,
Joe, hold on one second.
Just a second, Tom, I was talking.
on the door, did that get resolved,
It did. They're notching, first of all, they moved
the block?
the left side block back about a foot. And they're notching holes to accommodate the accordion closing curtain to maintain an absolute minimum 14 feet. We've emphasized that time and again, and every time I'm down there, I remind them, and every time they say, oh yeah, we know, boss.
I just want to make sure we have that covered.
Yeah.
No, I think it's a good point.
Okay,
So I emphasize it whenever I
all
can.
right, thank you.
the March 1st meeting here, what time will we be here?
It'll be our usual time, 6:30, but I would recommend people get here, a little bit early. I'd say maybe 6:10 or so. We can work out any last minute jitters. We will have Deb Alexander hosting our Zoom meeting. Liz can't make it, but she'll be on the call remotely.
I'll be there early too.
Okay, good.
Thank goodness.
And meanwhile, I'm going to meet with Alicia, who's kind of select board chair / host of this informational hearing. And also she will talk a little bit about the broad view of the budget. Then I will speak to the general fund details, and then Joe Gagne, who we will also speak to next week to prep, will speak about the highway fund budget.
Okay.
That's the plan.
All right.
What could possibly go wrong?
Not a thing.
Nothing,
Can't imagine.
nothing.
Boy. I did go and look at the fence. It looks really good down at the rec. So I reached out to Rob Ketchum because I'm like, how come they fenced off the map kiosk? But he said they're moving it because
They are
it needs to
gonna
get
move,
fixed or
yeah.
whatever. So, so I was like, you can't get to it.
So I'm sorry, Butch, your work of 50 years ago is no more, but we thank you for a lot of good usage.
Looks good though.
Thanks.
All right. Select board member remarks. Any public comment? All right. And we should probably just jump to present the presentation of the audit report. If you're ready.
She's muted.
You're muted there,
Yeah,
Chad.
your volume's off.
There you go. Oh, you're muted again.
There you go.
All right.
There There.
There.
Oh, we got
You guys all set? Technology, gotta love it. All right, so I think you all have a copy of the three reports I sent down. An audit report, a management letter, and what we call our audit committee letter. The big thick one, obviously, is the financial report that, oops, I gotta get you guys in front of me here. There we go. The biggest one's the financial audit report, which I know you guys are accustomed to seeing year after year. And I'll just start to walk through it here. Basically, pages 1 through 3, these I probably tell you every single year, but these are the only pages in here that are mine. This is my opinion of the town's finances. And what this 3-page document is saying is, it is an unqualified opinion, which is the best you can get. The audit was done in accordance with governmental accounting the standards board, and there are just no issues noted whatsoever. So you're in compliance with all financial standards. So the next pages 4 through 10. This is a document which is called the Management's Discussion and Analysis. It's a document written by John, and really what he's doing is John is kind of summarizing in 6 pages the other mumbo jumbo of my other 40 pages. I mean, this is basically a report in layman's terms on how the audit went. So I think a lot of people should read this. It just hits all the high points of the audit. All financial high points of the audit. Tells where fund balances landed, profits up, profits down, and kind of why, if why something happened. I mean, it explains that the highway fund had a rough year because of salt, sand, and overtime, and it really just tells the story, and that's what I love about the management's discussion analysis. I mean, essentially, you guys can read that document and then not really worry about mine. So it's a great document. I encourage everyone to read that. So pages 11 and 12. I'm not gonna spend much time with, but what these pages are, it's a global overview of the town's finances, but it just lumps everything together, everything from debt to fixed assets. It's more of a perspective type of thing where you wanna see globally what the town's finances look like. It doesn't really tell a whole lot of detail. But it's a requirement by GASB that these be prepared and shown so you can kind of measure what the town's finances look like in total. The main part of the audit I just want to emphasize is pages 13 and 14. These pages basically reflect the majority of the town's funds, excluding water and sewer. You'll see here on pages 13 and 14, there's 2 main emphases. The GASB, the Governmental Accounting Standards Board, tells us to basically to report what's called the major funds of the town. And the town basically has 4 major funds: the general fund, highway fund, and then the water and sewer funds, which are enterprise funds, which are reported elsewhere. You'll see on pages on pages 13 and 14, we list out the general fund. We list out the highway fund. Then every other fund is kind of lumped together, what's called non-major funds. And there's detail about these funds later in the back of the report. These are your special revenue funds, your capital project funds, all your other reserves. They're important funds, but they're not considered major by a financial criteria. And looking at page 13, I'm going to focus on the general fund. 3/4 the way down on the left-hand side there, you'll see that the general fund ended the year with $164,000. I'm going to round off here, but $164,000 of fund balance. Of that fund balance, about $13,000 was kind of tied up or committed for certain things. Some of it, the recreation director had money set aside where he's had profits from trail run. Those monies are assigned for future trail expenses. But the important number here you'll see is the $150,350 number, which is the unassigned number. That's the key. That is basically your I don't want to use your slush fund, but it's your unassigned money. It's what's going to cover emergencies. It's what's going to cover unexpected incidences that happened where you might not budget something and there's money there. So the recommendations typically are anywhere from, or GASB recommends anywhere from 8 to 12% of your fund balance, and you guys are well within that range. So there's no problem there whatsoever. The highway fund, on the other hand, highway fund had a kind of a rough year in the sense, as I mentioned. I mean, we're talking about fiscal year ending 20 here, where it actually lost money, but primarily there's 4 big benefactors to that, or not benefactors, but reasons why. A lot of salaries due to overtime, salt and sand were through the roof. And then I think you had a couple of really large repairs. I forget. I want to say one was on the backhoe. I don't know if you remember that, John. It was like
Yep.
a lift tech or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the power plant, which I think is John Deere. I think it must have been a loader possibly, but those are the. So anyway, the highway fund actually ended the year in the hole about $34,000. $20,000 of this is truly timing because you have grant money coming in, but it didn't come in time. So we know that 20,000 is coming. So at the end of the day, we're still in the hole. And I know, in speaking with John, there's mechanisms in place to get this thing back lining up and going forward. I'm presuming. Up and through last month, I imagine your highway costs were down for 2021 with the lack of snow and overtime. But
In fact, yes, lately it's been taking a bit of a hit with all these miniature storms, but also this current budget year, we have kind of built in a $60,000 to $70,000 surplus on the highway side. So we're hoping that cushions us and brings us back into the black.
No, that's great. And obviously there's more vulnerability with your highway department than with your general fund. The worst thing, as John just mentioned, probably the worst thing for highway departments are 2 and 3 inch storms, because you got to do the same amount of work. You'd be better off having 6 or 8 2-foot storms. So that way, it's instead of laying down the salt and sand every single day, and if the trucks are moving every day, that's just more diesel fuel, more wear and tear, more breakage. So. Turning the page to page 14 kind of gives a detail of the revenues, not a detail, it's really a summary of the revenues and expenses of the town. And as you'll see on the left-hand side there, down near the bottom, is that for fiscal year 20, the general fund actually had a positive surplus. We have a net profit of $51,000, which is great. $22,000 of that was all basically due to timing and better collections of taxes receivable, which quite honestly is a little surprising, because going into this past audit season, we were just thinking that, hey, due to COVID-19, people weren't going to be paying, but all across all my audits, I was really surprised to see that wasn't the case. So the delinquent taxes actually dropped from fiscal year 19 to fiscal year 20. And that provided a nice infusion of extra fund balance. Looking at the column to the right, as I just mentioned, the highway fund actually lost pretty close to $50,000. Again, those 4 main attributes: salaries, salt, sand, and repairs were the big issues there. Now I want to turn to further pages 16 through. 16 through 26. This is a more of a detailed revenues and expense report. This shows in detail what the budget line items were, what the actual items were, and you can kind of see the variances. This is the tool that John utilizes to prepare next year's budget. Obviously, I know he utilizes trends. He doesn't just look at the past year, but this kind of gives the major reasons of where the extra money comes, or if you're causing the profit or loss. So in this case, the general fund had the $50,000 profit. Pages 27 and 28, same type of report, but for the highway fund. And one of the things that the highway fund you'll see has a couple big, large variances, but that's all due to, again, timing of, is it Fire Hill, John, the big project?
Yes.
Okay. because the town budgeted for the Fire Hill project and expenses, you budgeted the grant revenue, and you budgeted what would have been your local match coming in from the bridge fund. That project just didn't get done. So there's a large differences of both the revenue and expenditure side, which washed out. But I just want to point it out that you'll do see some large variances there, but that's why. And actually, John, did it happen in the fall of 2020 or just didn't happen? I don't remember.
No, our supplier for the structure itself was tied up with supply chain problems. That's their explanation anyway, due to COVID. And we've gotten already them to commit to providing quotes and to get ready to prepare those this spring for a summertime project. That's what we're looking at.
Okay, all right. Next page I want to look at is pages 30 and 31. Here are your water and sewer funds. These are your enterprise funds. These are the funds that are supposed to be self-sufficient. These are essentially run just like a business. And you'll notice column on the left, water fund. Looking at the bottom, the total net position. Net position is just another term for retained earnings, fund balance. It's basically the difference between the assets and liabilities. And water fund was very healthy. There's $3.6 million. However, I don't want to make it sound rich, but however, of that 3.6, there's $3.1 million of your equity is tied up in your fixed assets. That's your water lines. That's all the entire distribution system. So from an economic standpoint or from a cash flow standpoint, we're talking about water having $491,000 of true spendable money that they could go out and spend. Pieces of this have been set aside for both capital projects and for a new water truck that we put away money for every single year. Column to the right, sewer fund. As John will attest, this is my most hated fund. So this is a fund that we're struggling with. We got some issues to take. At the end of the year, it does show $1.6 million of equity at the bottom there, but of that, $1,868,000 is tied up in your capital assets. So therefore, it leaves an operating deficit of $250,000. And this is the thing I know you guys are saying it's a broken record, but I've been harping on year after year is that the town's got to figure out a way to take care of this. And I might as well just talk about it now because that's one of my management comments that I've had before is that it's just something that has built up over several years due to rates being too low. There's been some unexpected overexpending, and I understand it's a very small market for the ratepayers and trying to fix this problem, but it's something that I know it needs to be addressed. And I know you guys are working on the new rate structure right now because of the Depot Hill bond, but it's just something that has to be taken care of. And John and I have had quite a few conversations. He's like, well, could the general fund just absorb this? And the answer is no, because I would be having the same question. I'd be telling you guys the same thing, because really what would happen is the general fund would then have a huge deficit. And I'd say, all right, guys, how are you guys going to fund this deficit? Because it's almost like if you take the two funds and stick them together, which we're not going to do, but you still combined, you still have that same deficit. And so it's something, it's kind of a big elephant in the room that has to be addressed. And
I'll address it briefly if I have a second.
Sure.
First, just last night, the Water and Sewer Commission adopted new sewer rates to do three things. A, begin at least modestly to repay the general fund. B, factor in the new debt service on Depot Hill. And three, finally get to break even on the operations. And we expect going forward that rather than have these spikes every few years, we're going to build in, as you've suggested, for both water and sewer, a modest, cost of living or cost of expense going forward so that we don't find ourselves having to do big increases again.
I think that's perfect, because you got to think about it. That's exactly what you guys do for your tax rate. I mean, each year you might have to adjust your tax rate 0.5%, half a cent, couple cent, or something like that. And it's much easier for the ratepayers to swallow a $5 increase per year than at 5 years hit a $50 increase per year. And you got to figure that each year your spending is going to go up. The money that we need to pay for the bills needs to go up. So I think it's a great idea. So,
And just the other point of debt, you and I had a back and forth about the fact that, yes, the sewer fund owes the money to the general fund. And my question to you was really, is that more of a paper issue than an actual impact on the general fund issue? And you've just explained it, that the select board does not really have the authority, or it would be very imprudent for the select board to waive or forgive that sewer debt, correct?
correct, because what it would do is it would just shift this deficit right to the general fund.
Yeah.
I would be having the same conversation because the general fund would have very little assets, and basically the general fund would end up borrowing from the bridge fund or something, or other funds, and for it kind of puts you in the hole. So
Yeah.
that's the reason why. So moving along, just basically, I want to turn to pages 35 through 65. I'm not going to go through these pages here, but these are just footnotes. These pages kind of provide more detail about the audit report, about the numbers, they're just full of disclosures that support the numbers. And just again, the whole goal here is to make it so a reader can read this report and understand what's really happening with the entire town of Pittsford as far as their finances go. Pages in the back, I'm going to just kind of flip starting at pages 70 and back. These are just basically more details of your smaller funds that the town has. There's the village fund, which is basically your village sidewalk taxes, reappraisal fund, which is where you get money from the state for future reappraisal, land records fund. Helen gets $3 or $4 per page for future restoration, and obviously there's the Dennison fund, which was money donated many years ago for the fire department to use on capital. And then there's a bunch of, like I said, your reserves, your bridge reserve, your municipal office reserve, your fire equipment reserve, which I know you guys just spent a lot of money on.
Yes.
Fire truck, patrol car, mower, and then your highway capital. So these are considered the non-major funds. They're important funds. They're just not as major to the town as the general fund and highway fund. So that is the town's financial audit. The short version is there any questions about this at all?
I don't have any.
So,
Oh, thank you.
Okay. All right. No, that's fine. That's fine. Two of the documents I have, and really I kind of addressed one already. One is called a management letter, which is basically our internal control letter. And management letters, management comments are put into three categories. First category is called material weaknesses, which are really bad things that are happening at the town from an internal control structure that need immediate correction. The second one is it's called the reportable condition, which is, again, it's a function happening at the town. It's not as severe as material weakness, but it needs to be taken care of. And the third thing that I have are what's called other recommendations. I'm happy to report that the town has no material weaknesses, no reportable conditions. So that's great. I mean, there's not a whole lot of towns that actually have that. And there are just a few other recommendations. They're just, in our opinion, things that could help improve the town, and just other comments. Like I said, one of my major comment is in there, which is probably being taken care of, as John said, is a sewer fund deficit. I mean, it's a major concern of ours, but it sounds like it's been addressed in fiscal year 21. So John, when do those rates go into effect? July?
July 1st.
July 1st, okay, so. And lastly, the third letter is just basically we call our audit committee letter. It's just a letter to the select board. Basically, it just says that how we audited, we had no disagreements with management, no significant material journal entries, and the audit went fine. I mean, that's what that letter says in a nutshell, so. That's all I got. If you guys have other questions, happy to answer, or I'm happy. I mean, again, I always encourage you, if you guys wake up tomorrow morning with an audit question, let them fly. I know you guys are gonna be thinking about these numbers all night long.
Good.
No, I've just got one question. Page 8, assigned for patrol car fund. We've been putting money in that fund. Why does it have a $24,000 deficit?
Well, no, it's, where's that police chief? Is he there?
No.
No?
Okay.
You buying too much ammo again?
Well, no, it's actually, it's a good question. You guys have been putting in the money, but the money hasn't quite kept up with the purchases. So in 2020, I think, is that the year you bought the police truck?
19, right? It was the first year I was here, so 19.
No, I think it was in 19, but it was in fiscal year 20. You spent $38,000
Okay.
on the new truck.
Yeah.
And at some point, to remind everybody, we had decided to instead of leasing it,
Right,
to pay off the lease and to
Right.
self-fund
Our
it.
own money.
So we went into the
Yep.
hole knowing we'd take a while to build that back up.
Okay.
We have increased the annual amount to, I think, 15,000 a year.
Right.
Yep. So, no, good question. And there might have been, okay, and I mean, one of the questions, I know John's there's a small deficit in the Veterans Memorial Fund. I know you guys spent some money out in the hallway there. And I thought that deficit will eventually get funded, hopefully by donations when you finish it off. Is that correct, John?
I think that's generally the idea. We'll roll it out for a new batch of enthusiasm and donations when we can actually start putting names on the wall.
Yep, good. Any more questions?
No, I guess not.
Excellent job, Chad, as always.
Thank you. That was very thorough.
I mean,
Thank you.
Chief Hooker, no snide comments?
You already got his.
Got it. All right.
And I go back a long way, don't we?
All right. Good night, guys.
Yeah.
Hey, thank you.
Bye.
Maybe sharp cookies.
I know that was good. All right, I guess review and approve proposal to post town roads.
That's the item that we're tabling.
That one out.
Okay. All right, so the review, the traffic counts.
Yes, it's all started when we had a inquiry from somebody on Gorham Bridge Road concerned about safety for pedestrians and bicyclists on her road, especially in the afternoon commute. And as we have done in the past, we've agreed with the town resident who is concerned that we will get a vehicle assessment. And the Rutland Regional Planning Commission posted their machine out there and discovered that the Gorham Bridge speed limit of 34 miles an hour is just about the average speed on the
35, John.
Sorry?
35.
Did I not say 35?
You said 34. 34 is the average
34 is
speed.
the average speed. It's posted.
35 is,
35.
well, you said it was posted at 34. Just clarifying.
Sorry about that.
Very specific.
There is, the 85th percentile speed is 41 miles per hour. And, based on that kind of reporting, it doesn't look to me as though an increase in the speed limit is warranted. Perhaps it's a matter of enforcement of our
I
existing
will say
speed
enforcement
limit.
would be needed
Yeah.
around 4:00 in the afternoon.
Yeah, and
I know, it's-
that's good feedback to
On
get
both
to the
places.
chief.
And you're looking at 600, you're looking at a lot of traffic on that
I was
road.
surprised by that
A
number.
lot of traffic.
That did surprise me on the upside.
So I think it's probably more the amount of traffic than it is the speed.
More than
Just
that.
there's probably constantly a car going by, somebody walking there.
Yeah.
So it's more perceived, I think, than it is.
And I'd be happy to ask the chief for better enforcement at that time of day and maybe even posting a speed sign out there as we do rotate it around to hot spots in town.
Yep.
While we're at it, I also was curious about Sugar Hollow Road, since we already agreed to do some chip sealing on the unpaved portion of Oxbow. Of course, Oxbow had a large number of vehicles. Sugar Hollow only has 111 a day. So that was interesting. Again, the average speed being 34 miles an hour. Finally, I was curious about how much traffic we get on the south end of West Creek Road, which is a problem because it's in terrible shape.
Right.
The speed limit posted is 35 and the average speed is 35. Again, 85th percentile is 42, but they get about 325 vehicles per day on the south end of West Creek Road.
There again, maybe enforcement on that.
Yeah.
Once in a while would help too.
Yep.
Because they're apparently speeding there.
So that's that.
All right. And then the tentative day for Pittsford Day, September 4th.
Yeah.
That's tentatively what we, the band called me, what, a week or so ago, a couple weeks ago. And
Yep.
they're trying to pencil in their stuff as they're getting, not knowing what's
Right,
gonna
yeah.
happen. Would like a tentative date, and I checked with Bill and some of the fire guys, and we thought that might be moving it back so we don't interfere with Chittenden if they have one, because that's been kind of a problem from year to year. So we figured a little late in the season, might give us an extra week or two to comply if things are better, hopefully. So we figured that might be a good way to end the summer.
And you didn't want to push it any
And we don't want to
further
wait further.
a haunted house.
In case we do have haunted house.
Right,
We don't want to get involved in that. And seems like the 2 weekends in August, I always seem to get bad thunderstorms.
It's a very volatile time of year.
Yeah.
So hopefully
Pick
maybe
the one we
this
don't
will
get
work out
rain.
better. So tentatively, we
Go ahead.
penciled in September 4th.
Pick the one we don't get rain.
Well, that's what we tried. We'll try that.
Okay.
So tentatively
Something different.
September
Well,
4th.
we could do it in February. We have no rain there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was raining last night.
Today would have been a nice day.
When's Chittenden Day?
Usually about the same time as ours.
Same weekends, either one just before us or just after.
After or same time. Yeah.
Or the same time we hit that one time.
What about the state fair in Rutland?
State fair is not going to interfere with this because they're going to be earlier. So
Okay,
that
right.
gets us away from that.
All right, good.
We kind of looked at all those to set the state line.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, fingers
And it
crossed.
gives
I was
us a
thinking.
long weekend too. because
Yeah.
You got Monday is off, so this would be Saturday.
So you're saying this is the first year we should have a beer garden?
Well, maybe.
Oh, that's not a bad idea.
2 days to recover?
Can we get a permit?
We're just gonna hold it down from the tavern.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Put it on the agenda next time.
There we go.
Oh, we need to get a distillery or brewery in town.
There we go. Then we can have-
Brandon, that's what it's full of.
Yeah.
I don't know if we need a motion on that or just.
I don't think so.
I don't think we do, do we?
No.
No, I didn't think so.
But we'll start sharing it for people
Yeah.
who do want to know what
Yeah,
we're thinking about.
that's what we're thinking.
Save the date.
Tentative date is the 4th.
All right, so moving on, considering appointing a second alternate to town planning.
Yep. We don't actually have a candidate necessarily yet. We've just heard from Mark Winslow that he knows somebody who he thinks might be a good candidate.
Yep.
I tried to reach out and I haven't heard back from this person. This person will also be in front of us on March 3rd with a solar presentation.
Oh,
So
okay.
that could be an opportunity to do 2 for 1.
Yep.
And I will ask him again in the meantime if he's interested. But I guess the first question is, would you like to have a second alternate? Nothing against it in the laws according to VLCT, just a matter of whether you think that's something to be done.
I was confused by the email though from VLCT. What did they make it say that the
They said
alternate couldn't,
They couldn't
or they couldn't do
involve
something,
themselves
right?
on certain types of things, like developing the town plan, or I think sitting on a quasi judicial matter.
Okay,
But for other purposes, they can be a valuable resource and someone to come in if there's a vacancy down the road.
gotcha, okay.
So I guess that's the question is,
It's a learning.
do you like the idea in general? If so, we will see if this person's interested.
No, I think it's a good idea to have people in line because
I
it's,
don't want to say no to somebody who's interested.
well, and that board has a, it's not a massive turnover, but there is turnover in it. And from what I understand, this person has expertise in a number of areas,
That's what
so
it sounded like. And if he's willing to come to the meetings, then
State solar, it's,
real estate,
We've
so,
had big turnovers in the past, so the more we can put on it now, the better off we're gonna be.
yeah.
Mhm.
well, yeah, yeah.
we will ask this person to let us know if he's interested, and then also we can talk to him on the 3rd.
Sounds good.
Yep.
Okay.
All right, and then an alternate to Rutland Regional Planning Commission.
Yes, we decided after the planning commission, the Pittsford Planning Commission, didn't have any suggested people to fill that alternate slot as our delegate to the RRPC. Donna Wilson came forward, saw the notice posted and offered herself as an alternate. She understands that it would involve attending meetings if Dave Mills is not available and reporting back if she does attend those meetings to the planning commission, letting them know what's been happening.
Right, okay.
And you all know Donna from many
Yeah,
years as
yeah.
a town lister.
I'll make a motion to appoint her.
I'll second it.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
I,
Aye. Any opposed? Okey doke.
Great. Whole business then.
That's all business.
Okay, yep, town meeting preparations and logistics.
Yes, well, first of all, as you know, Madam Chair, we had a nice town report dedication ceremony this morning. Some of it was virtual, but we had a couple of the honorees here in person. And that's always a good event. Today, I also attended a VLCT webinar regarding tips for facilitating the informational hearing, which is coming up in less than 2 weeks. So I've sent Alicia the link, which might get her that information in a format. They might have even recorded the meeting. So that only lasted an hour.
Okay,
Next week, the town manager will meet both with Alicia, who will talk a little bit about the overview of the budgets, and Joe Gagne, who will talk about the highway fund, so we can kind of prepare them for that. And of course, I'm happy to talk with Alicia again about what we've learned on the tips to facilitation of the meeting. We're not going to be able to enjoy the in-person presence of Liz Suya, but she will be on the call. We've been very lucky because Deb Alexander has volunteered to host the Zoom. She will come in for a training with Liz, although I think she's a pretty seasoned person. I just wanted her to see the machinery she'd be dealing with. And that'll happen next week sometime. Because again, after next week, it all hits the fan
I know, it's coming,
so quickly.
coming quick.
And again, by the way, as I pointed out earlier, there is a postcard that's gone out to voters explaining the mail-in ballots. And there's also the ballots themselves being mailed out Thursday into Friday for weekend delivery, hopefully. Also, there has been the notice posted in the town report about how to access the meeting. We'll also post things on the website. And we also have that letter to the editor that's going to be published next week, and the reporter, the select board letter saying, you know, level funded budgets and encouraging people to participate in our informational meeting and to get out and vote, hopefully in support of our budgets.
Okay, great.
not totally related, but sort of related. I just wanted to make one comment. You were talking here a minute ago about Odell and Randy and whatever. I just wanted to say that Odell's daughter made a comment about how nice it was to be able to meet with us on Zoom.
Mm.
So I just thought the board, seeing as how this was our idea to get this equipment, it's, you know, I think it's benefiting us a lot.
Oh, it certainly benefited Chad Hewitt, who didn't have to spend 4 hours on the road tonight from Montpelier or Waterford,
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Long drive
especially in bad weather sometimes too.
to sit here for 15, 20 minutes.
I know this,
Well,
so this will be
yeah.
great going forward,
Going
even.
forward.
It's the new normal, and going forward, we'll plug it into the budget for the moderator.
Yeah.
It's going to be expected, yes.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
all right, and then, so we got to figure out what we're gonna do for public comments on the local hazard mitigation plan. Do we have
Yeah,
set
this
dates?
was just the last opportunity for anybody who wanted
Oh.
to chime in on the local hazard mitigation plan draft that was presented in final form 2 weeks ago. Assuming I don't hear any comments tonight, and I haven't heard any in this entire 2-week period, I will notify Stephanie Bork, and she will then send it up to the state and then FEMA for approval. But I think it has to be formally adopted by the select board at some point in the process.
Oh, okay.
So stay tuned for that.
Yep. All right, and then the proposed amendment to the burning ordinance.
Yes, in tonight's packet, you'll see I have an email from Bradley Keith, our fire warden, who liked the idea of a set period of days instead of 10-day windows, which are kind of difficult to interpret unless you have a calendar in front of you every year. So he likes the idea of, instead of, the first Monday and the second Tuesday, May 1st through May 10th and October 10th through 20th. And that third time, we know that the calendar will change every year.
Right.
So the thought is, if you did February 1st through 7th, you would always capture a
Oh,
weekend
right,
within
yeah.
that. So if he seemed agreeable to that. If that's agreeable with you, I'll put that language in the amendment, which you can adopt at the next meeting. We only notify the public afterwards that it's been adopted, and that gives them 2 months to petition.
Oh, okay.
Brad, about
So-
it. We start doing that.
So we're doing it in February.
February.
February 1st through 7th, and then the other dates are May 1st through 10th and October 10th through 20th.
Okay.
Winter, spring, fall.
Right, well, the winter, yeah, February is good. May I get. But wasn't his point that people wanted to burn like in the summer more too?
Not so much.
Not so much?
No.
Okay.
There was one incident that this kind of started this, and that's been taken care of.
Oh, so it's
Yeah, it's a.
typical, we have one instance and we have to rewrite a law. Okay.
We start doing that in the village again and.
Okay, all right, okay, so this,
There was that
okay.
complaints.
Oh, yeah. Years back, yes.
Hard to believe.
At least we're giving that, some places you don't have the opportunity to do it at all.
I know, more and more places,
We're
yeah.
pretty lucky.
Yeah,
Yeah.
The city, you can't burn anything at any time.
So I guess
that's why they flush it down the sewer.
Oh, yeah.
Check the flag.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why those rates are so high.
Well,
I don't have so we just have the liquor board, the latest license renewal. You have
Yes,
that.
and that's from Westco doing business as Champlain Farms. And it is
you adjourned.
Recess.
Recess, excuse me,
Okay,
recess,
recess.
open.
consider it done, thanks to Kelly.
No, thank you.
Yes.
It's a second-class liquor license renewal. And if people are agreeable, I can circulate that around.
So moved.
Along with the minutes.
Second,
Were there any changes to the minutes that anybody wanted?
Nope.
Okay. Now, Joe, I'm just going to show you where we want.
That's all right, Joe. I did the same. I followed in your footsteps.
We'll follow Joe's footsteps too.
Side.
Yeah.
Stay on the left side of that and you'll be fine.
Okay,
And I'm sorry if it wasn't clearer before.
now
I'm sure it was my fault.
we'll give it a try.
All right, well, we still need to, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
So you want me over here, John?
Correct, under the approved portion.
Yeah, we disapproved them last week.
Only two of us.
Why?
I spent 20 minutes photocopying the signatures, cutting them out,
All I had to do was cross and
pasting
disapprove
them over.
Draw a line.
Oh my gosh. I don't care. I'm giving up my license.
All right, Joe, on the approved side or the disapproved side?
Whatever your conscience dictates, Hank.
Well, yeah, maybe we didn't want
Yeah,
them.
maybe.
Yeah.
Don't know.
Maybe, that's right.
You don't know.
You might have said no.
We may have forged our
That's right.
signatures against our will.
So you couldn't forge my
That was
signature.
the class he skipped in law school.
Yeah.
You know that, David? He couldn't do my
Yes.
No, but he was photocopying and then photoshopping. So, yeah,
Those color copies are pretty
That's
good.
probably more illegal than doing it the other
it
way.
probably is.
No, he wasn't photoshopping. He was scotch taping.
Well,
That's all right.
that's dinosaur age photoshopping.
Cut in and paste.
Cut and paste.
All right, so now we recess liquor board.
No.
No, you adjourn.
the
Adjourn liquor board.
Reopen the select board.
Reopen.
Madam Chairman, I'll have a list for you. I'll set up.
You were gonna do that last
I
time.
got
know,
it,
it's
almost done.
complaints.
Got almost done.
Cool, thank you. All right, but then I guess if we don't have anything else, we'll go into executive.